Welcome to our first day of budget hearings. Is that? Okay, there we go. Welcome to our first day of budget hearings, and I'm Lee Hewitt. I'm going to be chairman this year, and with me we have Brandon Newton, who is new to the committee this year, and Lonnie Hosey, Representative Hosey, who many of y'all know, and anyway, welcome. We'll open the meeting with the first agency, the South Carolina Commission of the Blind, Darline Graham. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Get me off first, brand new. Congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
Welcome to the committee.
Y'all just make it easy for me and ask for no new money or anything, and we'll be good.
Oh, you ruined the surprise. Now
Oh.
everybody knows.
Yeah.
But no, thanks for having us here this morning. So hopefully I don't start coughing and y'all can hear me. I'm suffering with that stuff that's going around. So just go ahead and get started. Y'all stop me if you have any questions. I would like to mention that I have a few of my leadership team here with me today. If I can have them stand and quickly introduce them. Carol Anderson, she's our Consumer Services Director. Nikki Green, she's our Consumer Services Lead. And Ryan Skinner, our Business Enterprise Program Director. I couldn't do what I do without them. So I'd like to take a few minutes to highlight our mission and briefly explain our agency. We have such an important mission, which is to provide quality, individualized vocational rehabilitation services, independent living services, and prevention of blindness services to blind and visually impaired consumers, leading to competitive employment and social and/or economic independence. And actually, breaking down our mission statement is really a good way to explain our agency in a nutshell. Our largest program, our vocational rehabilitation program, is primarily focused on helping our consumers find or maintain employment. We provide counseling and guidance, educational opportunities, vocational training, and assistive technology, all in preparation for employment. Part of the VR program also involves a residential component that's located in Columbia, and the services are very individualized and are also focused on helping people get ready for employment. Individuals stay on our campus Monday through Friday. Some individuals may be in training for several weeks. Some may be even there for several months. So again, it's very individualized. In addition, our Business Enterprise Program is also focused on employment. Our 16-week training program helps prepare individuals to become entrepreneurs. The licensed vendors currently operate 83 vending or food service facilities statewide, including 10 restaurants at Fort Jackson, where we have an over $60 million contract with the Army, and I'll explain more about that in just a minute. Oh, I'm not advancing the slides. Our mission also focuses on independence. In children's services, which is 100% state funded, we help provide children with vision loss from ages 3 to 12 with assistive technology they can use not only in school but at home, which helps them build confidence and remain independent. Next, our mission focuses on prevention services, which is also 100% state funded and is an absolutely amazing program that provides sight-saving services to individuals. For example, we pay for cataract surgeries, retinal detachment repairs, and other services for individuals who meet financial need requirements. We also offer older blind services to individuals 55 and older with severe vision loss. Many of them attend our low vision clinics offered around the state. We provide them with assessments so that we can recommend low vision devices and sometimes orientation and mobility instruction. And these services help them remain independent and in their own homes longer. As some of you may remember, last year we requested state support for our older blind program due to the increased number of individuals 55 and older seeking services. As you probably know, South Carolina's population is aging, and actually South Carolina is one of the top 3 states where retirees are moving. Many of these individuals 55 and older need assistance for vision-related issues such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, and cataracts. Last year, we expected to serve just over 1,000 individuals in our older blind program, but we actually served more than 1,400, well exceeding our projection. If this trend continues, we plan to serve, or we may serve close to 2,000 this year. So you can see how it's definitely trending upward. And thanks to the 592,002 positions we received in last year's budget request, we can now better address the needs of these individuals who are seeking much-needed services. So again, thank you for that. In our Business Enterprise Program, after individuals complete our 16-week training series, they become licensed vending operators. Currently, the licensed vendors operate a total of 83 facilities statewide, including 28 rest stops and welcome centers. And we purchase and maintain equipment at all of these locations. This includes new micro markets, such as the ones located here on the state capitol grounds, and the one at the new South Carolina Department of Education building at the Farmers Market. And these new micro markets are amazing. They not only offer better food options and self-service convenience for customers, but also have the latest accessibility and technology to help the BLVs better operate their stands, their businesses. Also included in your packet is a success story about Willie Patrick. He's pictured here. I would encourage you to take a look at that. He operates the micro market at Blythewood headquarters of the Department of Public Safety and the Department of Motor Vehicles. So it's a really good story. So if you get a chance, please read that. Also, as part of the Business Enterprise Program, our agency manages a more than $60 million contract at Fort Jackson, where licensed vendors currently operate 10 Warrior restaurants that currently employ approximately 974 people. During November, these 10 restaurants served more than 23,000 Thanksgiving meals, and each month, these 10 restaurants served a combined average of 750,000 meals. The blind licensed vendors in the BEP also piloted and implemented the U.S. Army's first grab-and-go market, which serves an average of 6,000 meals each month at Fort Jackson. And this concept has worked so well that the U.S. Army plans to implement it at other bases around the country. So we're really excited about that and proud of that. We're also doing some exciting things with students aged 13 to 21. For example, we hosted several camps this summer on USC's campus where over 30 students participated. Just the experience of staying on campus for some of these students was very helpful. For example, one student said that she learned the confidence to apply for college after learning that she could navigate a college campus. So it was a very meaningful experience for her. Students also learn how to plan travel using public transportation. They learn personal finance and budgeting, and some completed work-based learning experiences with local employers. These type of camps focused on employment as well as additional training and educational opportunities eventually lead to successful career opportunities for consumers. You can see some of the more notable employment successes this past year, such as a registered nurse at $31.80 an hour and several managerial positions earning more than $50 an hour. Over the past 3 years, the average hourly wage and average salary earned by consumers have continued to trend upward. Currently, the average salary is just over $34,000 a year. This has increased from just over $25,000 in FY21, which is a 34% increase. So again, excited to report that. As I mentioned, we've included some amazing success stories in your packet. I would encourage you to read these. Over the next year, we will continue providing quality services to our consumers so that we can have more successes like these. We also plan to work on fiscal forecasting so that we can accurately predict our future needs. And therefore, at this time, we do not have a request for additional funding. Drum roll.
Thank you. We do like that.
Yes, but thank you so much for your continued support because we may be back next year. Do y'all have any questions?
Congratulations on your successes. That is, the Fort Jackson and all in the 2 stories. When I read those, they were great. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Hosey, you have a question?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm being partial thinking about just Fort Jackson, and I'm from Paris Island, the United States Marine Corps. So what about the other branches of service, the Air Force, Shore Air Force, and others? Have anything been done? Has anything been done toward reaching out to them?
Yes, absolutely. We're working, the Marines, what they've done, and I've got our BEP director here, he can chime in if he wants, but they issued a contract for the entire East Coast instead of just bidding out that one Marine base. So we've joined together with Virginia, North Carolina, and a couple of other states to bid on that contract. So that's kind of a negotiation process that's happening right now. But we're hopeful that we'll be awarded the contract, and hopefully we'll have some blind license vendors operating that one as well.
One more question. What about persons don't have any kind of insurance or anything, and they need your service? Is there something that's recommended for those persons, and how do we handle them into the program? And can the state help you get better service to those people who just don't?
Absolutely. If you don't have insurance, we can still serve you. So it depends on, what age you are, what service you're seeking, whether or not you meet our eligibility requirements. There's a lot that goes into that. But for example, in our prevention program, we can help provide surgeries and other services for people who meet financial need requirements. And what that means is typically if you don't have insurance or you're underinsured, then we can help pay for those surgeries that you need to maintain or better your vision.
Any other questions? The financial assistance, what are those requirements? I mean, you mentioned not having insurance. Is there an income level that?
There is an income level, and there's a formula in here. I actually have it. Give me just a second. It must exceed the current federal poverty amount by no more than 10%, which may include being underinsured or not having insurance.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Great presentation.
yeah, thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Okay, next up, Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. Mr. Johnson, welcome.
Good morning. I'm going to pass this off. All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, and thank you so much for this opportunity to present our budget request to you this morning. I've brought along several of my team members. We have Ms. Carrie Dowd Pugh. She's our Director of Administration. We have Mr. Wesley Stokes. He's our Facilities Management and Project Director. We have Ms. Sabrina Walker. She is our Director of Grants and Funds Management. And we have Ms. Yvonne Young, as she is currently our Acting Director of Disability Determination Services. Our mission at Vocational Rehabilitation is to help South Carolinians with disabilities who want to go to work, to enter into the workforce, or to maintain their current forms of employment. I would like to start by giving some highlights of how we were able to do that last year before getting into my budget request. First, I'm very happy to report that our agency served 22,686 individuals throughout our 31 offices in the state to help prepare them for employment opportunities. Of that number, we were able to help 3,954 South Carolinians with disabilities achieve or maintain competitive employment in integrated settings. The number of individuals that were newly referred to vocational rehabilitation for services increased by 7% last year, totaling 10,520 new referrals to our program. And our consumers, when they re-enter the workforce, our calculations show that they pay back $3.72 in taxes for every dollar that was spent on their rehabilitation. We also note that over half of the consumers that we help had no income when they were referred to us for services, and when they went into the workforce, they generally worked 30 or more hours per week. Additionally, 2,486 individuals were served in our job readiness training centers throughout the state. In those centers, we partner with businesses throughout the community. Right now, we have about 207 business partners throughout the state that we work with to provide training opportunities in those centers for our consumers to learn job skills. They source several hundred lines of product to us, and our consumers are able to perform the work task for those businesses, and that helps them to learn job skills. Also, 97 of those partners hired some of our consumers straight out of our training centers last year into employment opportunities. Almost 41% of the new referrals we received last year were from folks that are between the ages of 14 and 24 years old, so our younger population. 2,695 students participated in at least one work-based learning opportunity across the state last year. And in total, we were able to provide 41,666 pre-employment transition services to 6,162 students. And that increased the ratio of services per student that we provide from 4.5 to 6.8. It is important to note that serving students is essential for VR to fulfill our requirement. We have to expend 15% of our federal funding providing mandated pre-employment transition services to students. Also, our Disability Determination Services Unit, I'm pleased to report that we exceeded our total workload goal by more than 1,000 cases. And our accuracy rate for those cases is at 95.4%. I will admit we are slightly below the national average, which is 95.5%, but we're working on that. I will transition into our budget request for this year. I can't match the commission. We're asking for a little bit of money. All of our requests are capital requests, and they are all included in year 2 of the Capital Projects Improvement Plan. So our first request is a paving request for the parking lot at our Comprehensive Evaluation Center and our State Office Complex, both located on the same campus in West Columbia. That facility is over 46 years old, and the paving has deteriorated beyond normal repairs. We'd like to repave the parking area and also add some additional exterior lighting to enhance the safety and security in that area. The total cost of the project would be $600,000, but we would plan to use 75% in federal funds. So $450,000 would be federal funds, and we are requesting $150,000 in state funds to complete that project. This Comprehensive Evaluation Center serves individuals from all over our state that have physical barriers to employment, and last year we served nearly 200 adult consumers. We use this center to do aptitude testing to gauge their vocational interests, to assess their needs, to assess their physical limitations, and help them to decide what type of vocational objective or career is best suited for them if they have never entered the workforce due to being born with some type of congenital disabling condition, or if they have a newly acquired disabling condition. This building sits adjacent to our state office, and it also shares a parking lot that serves about 215 staff. Our second request is another paving request. This location is the parking area that houses our Information Technology Training Center, our agency's Learn Center, and our Rehabilitation Engineering Department. It's also located on our state office campus in West Columbia, and these structures are about 34 years old. And again, the parking lots have deteriorated beyond normal repair. So as part of this project, we would also add additional exterior lighting to enhance safety and security. We would again split the cost of the project. We would use 75% federal funds. We're requesting 25% in state funds, which would be $150,000. Last year, our Rehabilitation Technology Department served more than 400 consumers, and the parking area is adjacent from our Human Resource Development Center. That center hosted 31 trainings last year, and the total cumulative attendance for those sessions was over 2,157 to be exact. We also use that facility to help our external partners. We allow them to use that building to host trainings for their staff. So last year, we partnered with 39 of our community partners, and they were able to access that facility to provide training to their staff. And we also have about 35 staff members who frequent that building on a daily basis. Our final request is to replace the heat pumps at our dorm room building that's located on the state campus in West Columbia. We currently have 23 heat pumps that are outdated and are very expensive to repair. The new units that we're looking at would be more energy efficient, and they have a life expectancy of 15 years. We would again request to split funding with our federal resources, so we would be using $221,250 from federal funds and requesting $73,750 in state funds to complete that project. We use that dorm building to provide customized training opportunities for our consumers who are interested in going into hospitality. There is a dorm building so they can get used to the changing of the linens and how to keep them clean and sanitized. So there's customized training opportunities there. And once we are able to get the building back operational, we would also use it for consumers who require overnight stay for trainings located here in Columbia. That building can accommodate 16 guests, and it has office space for 8 staff members to attend to the needs of those guests. So in total, we are requesting $373,750 in state funds to complete these capital projects. And that concludes our requests. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Representative Hosey.
Thank you. Thank you. Mrs. Johnson, am I correct? Yeah. Did you know that, to give you a plug for your program, that I am a recipient of vocational rehabilitation?
I think you shared that with me last year. Yes, sir.
And it's paid off. Because when I returned back from Vietnam, the war, training as a combat soldier, I didn't know how to spell my name, but I could fight. And so when I went to vocational rehabilitation, I had this grandiose idea that I want to be a chemist and all this kind of thing. They said, oh, no. We were tested into the program, and education was the way I needed to go so I could learn some things about life. And it really worked for me. And I really wanted to say to you, I appreciate your program, what you do, and I hope that you get your funding that you need because people can use it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Clyburn.
Ms. Johnson, let me just say that I visit some of the facilities, and I was just amazed how well kept the facilities were and how focused and how the, students were participating. It was just very, very outstanding. And just wanted to say to you that I just appreciate what this agency is doing. There's a couple of questions. Do you have any figures on the youth, on what happened to them as with your coordination with businesses? Have you gotten any kind of feedback on the number of students who proceeded on?
On to those businesses?
Yes.
Not specifically with the youth, because most of them are in high school, so they are still working through high school, and they're getting job training while they're in high school. So with our job readiness training centers throughout the state, we partner with the schools, and we have students actually come on site, and they perform work tasks in our job readiness training centers during the school day so that they can gain job skills and help them to create a resume. They can also participate in what we call job readiness classes, so that once they graduate high school, they're able or ready to go to work and sometimes go on to post-secondary education. But what I can do is for those students who didn't go, who have graduated from high school and have not yet gone into post-secondary education, I can find out for you exactly how many of those obtained employment opportunities.
Well, as long as you were satisfied with that number, I was just concerned, because it's a good thing to have them to move on and and succeed on jobs.
Yes, sir.
The 121,000 that you're asking for those heat pumps, is that just from the state?
That's just, yes,
Are
73,000.
there a bidding process for that?
For that portion, let me double check. Do we have to put that on? We do. We do have to put that out for bid, because the total cost of the job will be $294,970. But we would use 75% of our federal funds to cover the rest of it.
Thanks. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Representative Newton.
Welcome, and thank you for your presentation. The funding these are state buildings, correct? Like, we don't lease them, they're our buildings, right?
They're VR purchased buildings through state and federal funds, so they're state buildings, yes, sir.
Perfect. And are these dollars that you're able to match with the state dollars, is this like a year-over-year thing that they do all the time, or is this something that they only give you short windows for and say, look, if you want capital, here's a window to do it?
So we have a formula grant from the federal government, and we don't know the formula, but
Yeah.
they give us our federal funding every year. So we count on a certain amount of federal funding or more every single year. We technically have a year to spend those federal funds, but they give us a carryover year. So we have 2 years to spend those federal funds. And Sabrina, if I mess this up, you correct me, but we have 2 years to spend those federal funds. So Sabrina, our Director of Grants and Funds, she does a budget every single year. She monitors that funding. She and I meet on a weekly basis, and she keeps up with where we are with the spend. Wes, our management director, he oversees all of our projects, and he lets us know if something is kind of going slow or if we're on track to spend. So we do get federal funding every single year, and it's been consistent. I will say that the VR program did lose their COLA. We didn't get a COLA last year, but our advocates with our national program are working to ensure that the VR program gets that back.
Perfect. Because I was about to say, 75% off capital improvement's pretty good for the state. Not all agencies can ask us for that, so.
Do you partner with any other state agencies?
All of them.
All of them?
Any state agency that serves our consumer population. So we serve every single disabling condition you can think of, with the exception of blindness. Our partners at Commission for the Blind, they specialize in blindness, but there are situations where someone may be blind but also have a physical barrier to employment, where we come together to make sure that that person gets all the services that they need and require to go to work. And if there is an instance where someone who has a visual impairment does not meet the Commission's eligibility requirements, then we can serve them fully. So we work with mental health, with probation and parole, SCDC, DDSN, anyone who serves folks with disabilities that want to go to work.
And thank you. And one thing, going back to the federal money. It says pending. I would assume the only requirement left is for funding from the state, or are there any other requirements that have
That
to be
would
met?
be it.
That would be it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, we know where we stand with that one then.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We would like to welcome Representative Rutherford to the room. So, next up, Department of Aging, Director Munn. Welcome again.
Good morning.
Here's, pass that.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can
Okay,
everybody
okay.
else hear? Okay.
Perfect. Well, I'm Connie Munn, and I'm the Director of the Department on Aging. It's nice to see all of you this morning. Thank you for the opportunity to come and share our budget request with you and talk a little bit about our agency and what we're doing. As I said, I'm Connie Munn, the Director, and I have with me this morning Saida Gallman, who is my Finance Director, and Lily Cogdell, my Legislative Liaison, who are waving. They're not standing, but they're in the room. So let me just give a little bit about our agency and what our mission and our vision is. At the Department on Aging, we like to feel that we are the experts on aging. We are tasked to serve all older adults in South Carolina, 60 and older, and our disabled population, to ensure that they have a quality of life that keeps them at home safe and being able to live at home as long as they so choose. Part of the vision that we do is providing leadership through advocacy and collaborating with the individuals that are in this room today, as well as many other state agencies, private businesses, nonprofits that we coordinate and collaborate, because as we all know, the aging population is growing drastically, particularly in South Carolina. And so we have to be able to coordinate with all entities to address the needs of our older adults. This just is a little bit picture and explains we became a cabinet agency in 2019, and we were established as the South Carolina Department on Aging to serve our state's aging network. And to kind of, this slide just shows a little bit about how we receive our funding. As a state agency, we are mandated by the Administration of Community Living to be a state unit on aging. We receive our federal funds from the Administration of Community Living. It comes to our agency as a state unit. And then, in turn, we contract out with our regional partners. And those are the 10 area agencies on aging that some of you may be familiar with. From that end, they contract through a procurement process with our providers. And those can be anyone from and many of you may know of the Councils on Aging. Those are providers that provide transportation. And we have those individuals who then provide the services. And so the last on the spectrum that you're looking at starts with the federal government, and the end is our seniors. And that's the whole reason why we're here today, is to provide these services to our older adults. So the 10 area agencies that I mentioned, this is a breakdown of it, and you can look at that. You'll see it in your slide. This will tell you a little bit about who serves your area, what your area agency on aging is that is in your counties, and this is how we procure our services through the 10 area agencies on aging. We work very closely with them. And of these, just a little side note, 7 of these are located within a council of governments, and 3 of the area agencies on aging, Trident, Catawba, and PD, are freestanding. One of those is located within a healthcare system. But the majority of our area agencies on aging are located within council of governments. So you've already heard this morning from the Commission for the Blind. The aging population has grown drastically in South Carolina and nationwide. And so this is just a chart that shows you that in South Carolina in 2017, we were at 23.7%. And by 2024, last year, we were at 26.4% of our population. That is an increase of 19.2% from 2017. And we are projected by the year 2030 to be at 27.8% of our population. And so I think it's important to note here why we are asking what we're asking for in our budget is because we are projecting, we're looking at the trends, and they're growing drastically. And so we need to be able to have the services in place for our older adults in South Carolina. So our first ask is the federal authorization and maintenance of effort. The total is $15 million. And the Administration for Community, I'm sorry, I'm going kind of quickly through my slides. The Administration for Community Living's method of awarding funds to the state is heavily based on our funding formula, and we are requesting additional federal authorization of the 25% state match that is required for our federal funding. Our second ask is Older Americans Act compliance. And the final rule was released in February of 2024. And so part of that, we are in compliance with the Older Americans Act. This is where our federal money comes from. The program has not been updated since 1988, which is 36 years we've been waiting for the final rule to come into compliance. We are currently in compliance, but this ask is to ensure that we continue to be in compliance. We do not want to take a risk of not being in compliance and losing our federal funds. So like I said, we've been waiting since, for the last 36 years to have this final rule. And these additional FTEs are what we are asking for to ensure that we do stay into compliance. Just one particular, when we're looking at our area agencies on aging, part of the final rule was to ensure that you are reviewing contracts, the contract management piece. So also for the area agencies on aging, they receive federal money and they receive state funding, but we also ask that they look outside of that. They think outside the box to bring in other funding as well. So if they're looking at very innovative programs like contracts with a public health entity, and the state unit is required to approve all of these contracts that they are going to be entering into, we don't want to hold that up at the state level if they're sitting there waiting to sign off on a contract. So we need staff in place to ensure that the area agencies are able to push forward with what the requirements are and what they're looking at to build their programs. So our third ask is for home and community-based services at $19 million. So let me talk a little bit about our home and community-based services. This is actually what our older adults wish and what they want. They want to stay at home. It's exactly what it says. It's to stay at your home and stay active in your community. And I've got listed here several of the different programs that these home and community-based services fund. We are seeing a significant growth in our 60-plus population. By 2024, we're looking at a total of 229,000 extra older adults living in South Carolina. One of the reasons that we are asking for this increase, one, the increase in older adults, two is the inflationary cost for services, and three is the unwinding of the ARPA funds. And so I think it's important to note here when we look at the ARPA funds and what we were able to do in South Carolina, we were one of the few states originally when we received the ARPA funds to be able to get this money out quickly. And what we did was we insisted and ensured that it was innovation. We were not going to go in and just allow everyone to take everybody off of a waiting list because we knew we'd be right back where we are. But through the innovation, there were several programs that came about that were able to keep them at home. We looked at different programs like hearing aids, glasses, things that they could not purchase somewhere else. And so part of it we realized was so important to keep our older adults at home. So we want to continue that, add to the home and community-based services. But if you know of an older adult, and you hear constituents all the time probably reaching out to you, they want to stay at home. And so these services that you're looking at, whether it's transportation to get them to a congregate meal site so that they can be with their friends and enjoy a meal and fellowship and activities, or if it's going into the home and being able to bring that service into the home, that's what they want. And this request, we did come with our area agencies on aging. We asked them to submit to us what you need and what could it look like in South Carolina and in your region to be able to provide these services. Oh, no. Okay. Kind of cut it off completely. So this is just showing, this is a timeline of home and community-based services. And we technically have been remaining stagnant since 2017 at the 10 million for the home and community-based services. This slide shows the impact of if we receive the funding, what can be provided across the state. And so where you see a unit, the way that the contracts are written, some of them are per person, but that is 117,000 meals. So each one of these programs will highlight for you the additional units, whether it's transportation or home care hours. This kind of shows you the impact and what this funding can do for us in South Carolina. So our fourth priority is for the home stabilization program, and this is for 3 state FTEs. In South Carolina, as I mentioned before, it has been noted that it's more cost-effective to keep our older adults at home than it is to be in a nursing facility. $9,289 a month of in-home nursing home care is, our older adults want to remain in their home. And so this is why we have the home stabilization program. We appreciate the funding last year to begin running the program. We had a HUD project and it is running out, so we are running the program statewide, and we've seen a huge impact on that. We can go into some of the homes and do something as simple as changing the lighting or putting a grab bar up, and that reduces the risk of falling and injuring and breaking a hip and ending up in a nursing home. So we are very excited about this program, but we do need the FTEs to continue running this program, and we have this listed. It's unique in South Carolina as well. We've been asked from other states to run the program with occupational therapists. It's worked very well for us, and so we're really excited. We could not have done this without your assistance, so I want to thank you for that because it's been able to get us to where we are right now. So we're excited to continue this program. And our fifth priority is for ombudsman allocations. We are running this program, and we need to continue the funding to be able to provide it in the other areas. My priority 6 is legislative recommendations. When we completed the House Oversight Committee, this was 2 of the recommendations. The first one is the recommendation for a learning management system. And part of it is this learning management system is not just for state employees. It is for our aging network, which involves area agencies on aging and local providers. So that is why we are looking for this particular position within our agency. And then, of course, just a marketing and communications division as you're looking at our agency and what all we're doing and where we're going, being able to get the word out, because the one thing we want to make sure of is older adults, family members, anyone can find us and know what is out there and what South Carolina has to offer. And priority 7 is we need another funding, another position for our vulnerable adult guardian ad litem program. This is the program that is a state-run program, and we provide court representation to ensure the rights of the vulnerable adults that are possibly abused, neglected, or exploited. So we need an additional staff person in that position. And 8 is the shared services. We are requesting this funding to ensure that we are in compliance with the Proviso 117. So we have shifted over to shared services with the state, and that is going well. So we're pleased with that. It was a process, but our employees are now used to it, and it's going well. And then the FTE rebalancing, this is just, again, coming into compliance and ensuring that we are able to rebalance our FTEs and bring them. We have then the other position and just coming in line with our budget items and making sure that our FTEs align with the positions and what they do. And then our proviso requests are listed here. So. And that concludes my request. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Director Munn. Representative Clyburn, you have,
Just a couple of quick questions. Good morning. Good morning, Ms. Munn. Let me just ask you, the monies that opera funds, have you spent all those funds, or what was your statement about that?
We're dwindling those down. We have an extension until the end of September to expend those funds. But yes, sir, they are
So
coming
your
to-
request is based on top of those funds?
Yes, sir, the request actually is in addition to that. So what we have found is some of those programs and services, obviously, we would like to continue. Part of the final rule that was established was allowing to do, when COVID hit, we had to shut the world completely down, and our older adults were the ones who suffered drastically on that. So what we found and what the Older Americans Act realized is there's some flexibilities that can happen that are really good. The grab-and-go meals was a ARPA innovative program that now in the Older Americans Act, the final rule says that we can do that. So that is why we're trying to shift and also asking for additional funding because of the opportunity to do some innovation that wasn't allowed before COVID.
These figures, I hope I had these figures right, but you had a budget of about 11 million, and you were asking for maybe more than twice that much. So your request is just for compliance?
No, sir. The request, one of the requests is for compliance, yes, sir, for the positions. But the money requesting the 19 million for the services, that is just to meet the needs and the demands and the population growth.
Okay, and just a short answer for this. The Oversight Committee, they're asking the questions about demographics?
Yes, sir, we went over all the demographics. It was an extensive
I may want to
study.
see that sometime, but not right now anyway. You know.
And we
Okay.
can provide that, and we have information for each one of you, and for your county and your region. We're happy to show that and can get that to you. We have it broken out so you can see what the individuals statewide are also receiving.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
all right. Representative Hosey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Munn, part of your budget, does it come from the governor's office, the lieutenant governor? Is it in that budget too?
From what we asked today, no, sir. No, sir.
None? And so Office of Aging does not come under the lieutenant governor's office?
No, so yes, the Department on Aging is a part of we're a cabinet agency, yes, sir, with the governor's office.
Okay. All right. The other thing is that offering walking trails and that kind of thing, do you do a lot of that over the state for seniors, walking trails for seniors aging?
Now, we don't provide the funding for the walking trails. We provide funding which through the state is the Permanent Improvement Program, where you can go into a senior center and you can improve a senior center to make it, whether you might need an additional room for activities or whatever the case may be. But we recommend and ask them to work with some of the other entities locally to do a walking trail. And that's been a very nice partnership with some senior centers that are renovating to also have a walking trail. We have several senior centers that have walking trails in South Carolina.
Would that come on the PARD?
I believe that comes under there, and there's some USDA funding as well that can be provided. But we always, when we're working with our senior centers, provide information on how they can find additional funding to do those programs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Newton.
Going back to the home community-based service part, you have on here like 3 factors of why the request is being made: the growth of the population, inflation, and then the fact that some of them are ARPA dollars. Are you able to provide a breakdown of how much of that request is a result of each one of those 3 things?
we can provide that.
Yeah, because I don't know what the inflationary costs could be or
Right.
what the, and then what part of that is just ARPA
Yeah.
dollars that are
Yes.
disappearing? Because, I know you've probably been hit by inflation like everything, so.
Yeah, and part of that, and when we were looking at the inflation, is that the area agencies on aging are required by law, by the Old Americans Act, to go out on procurement every 4 or 5 years. And so when they go out on procurement 4 or 5 years ago, when they have a contract in place, that is what they pay for the 4 or 5 years. And so this information came from our area agencies to let us know, because we understand they're not able to, it's very difficult to pay a home care worker to go into the home and take care of your loved one when they can go to, Target or McDonald's and make $20 an hour. It's a difficult. The direct care workforce drastically needs to see an increase in what we can pay them. And so they're taking care of our loved ones and the worst of the worst circumstances at times. And so we need to take care of them. And that's part of it. But I'll be happy to get a breakdown of that with the percentage so you can see exactly which is because of the 3 priorities that we're asking.
Okay. You're right, our population is aging, especially in the coastal areas where I live. So you get federal dollars. How often are those formulas adjusted due to in-migration, which is heavy, plus the aging population? So do you have that opportunity on a regular basis to be able to go in and change your formulas to be able to get more federal dollars because of that in-migration?
Well, it's not the amount of more federal dollars that we get, but it's how the federal dollars that we get are allocated out to the area agencies on aging. We do have the opportunity to look at that, and typically whenever we are submitting a state plan, which we submit a state plan every 4 years, ours is due in 2025, so we're currently working on that, we can look at the funding formula. And we did just adjust it the last time to look at different factors. We are mandated by the Older Americans Act as which factors we can look at to address the formula, but it does give you the opportunity to do just that. Part of what we adjusted last time was looking at our 85 and older population. That was not one of the segments that we looked at and one of the factors, but we realized, obviously an 85-year-old is going to need more services. So those individuals that are living in their, these communities maybe needed to adjust it so that they're getting more dollars. We do take the federal dollars and do a baseline so that all 10 receive a certain amount of funding, and then the factors are broken out. So it's difficult to look at because we don't want to, you want to make sure that you're ensuring the areas that need it, but also understanding that urban and rural counties and area agencies are very different. A rural area has a much harder time of getting services out than an urban area. And so we encourage, and I encourage you, whenever the census is taken, encourage your people to be counted because that is how we get our funding. So,
Representative Rutherford.
Well, that's to his point, like in his area in Brandon, they have such an influx that waiting 10 years, the numbers are going to be way off. So how are you all adjusting for all of these people that are moving in and aren't contributing, but are going to be taking from the system that this small state can't necessarily handle when we are the #1 state for people moving into and getting all these retirees? Like, how are you going to adjust for that?
well, we will be looking at that within the next year. We won't be waiting 10 years. We did our formula 4 years ago, so this year we will look at it. But we also have the flexibility.
But how would you know who they are? How would you know how to grab what increase you are seeing in a year's time? If we are the #1 state that people are moving into, and a lot of these are retirees, I see yours, I'll wait.
Go ahead.
So one way that's addressed, when we receive our funds from the federal government, they're formula-based. Those funds are based on the interstate funding formula, which is also the same formula that's used across the board for transportation. So that's how we receive our funds, which are contingent mostly on the census. There are some other factors that go into that formula. Once we receive the funds in state, the way we distribute those also is based on the interstate funding formula. So we also look at those census numbers and some other factors to distribute the funds among the different regions.
But how good is that going to be moving forward? We're not Florida, we're not Texas, we're not California. There's only so much that we can take before you all
Absolutely.
are underserving South Carolinians that have paid
Absolutely.
into this and need those services. Because once you get to be 85, you didn't know that you needed somebody in your house. You didn't know that you needed railings. You didn't know that tomorrow you may need home health care. And so how is it that you all can continue to do that when we're working off of 10-year numbers? And does this committee need to talk to our federal people about adjusting when we can all read what
So
the
you're
press is saying?
absolutely right. And one way that we tackle that is with our HCBS funding. And those are 100% state funds that we use as an agency to fill in the gaps with our federal services. So that's going into our larger ask this year also, so.
Whatever it is, if you all would just let us know, because it's not going to be right. It's not going to be
And you're
even close to
absolutely
right.
right. And as Director Munn mentioned, we're mandated through the Older Americans Act to use that interstate funding formula. So we must use that. That's based on the census. It is outdated information, and we're trying to keep up with that.
Yeah, we don't need
information
y'all to
as a state.
pretend like it works, because we know it will
Right,
not. And with
right.
aging parents, by the day, something happens and there's a need, and you got to fix
You're
it
absolutely right.
quickly, or it just gets worse. So just, if you would, let us know what we need to do to talk to our federal partners about doing more. I know I've reached my quota for talking today, so I'll go ahead and shut up, but just please let us know.
Thank you so much.
No, but I think it's something we all recognize that,
Right, especially in y'all's area.
yeah, I mean, it's, I had a population growing, but my high school student population's dropping.
Right,
That's a
right.
big indication of what's happening there. So Representative Newton.
Yeah, I was going to say, half of our new development is senior required homes. And, we're basically being punished because the feds want to use the census numbers. I mean, that's.
And lastly, they're coming down, they don't want to pay any more in taxes, that's why they're coming here, but they want all the services. And so you can't keep them out, which I wish I could, but so how do we deal with that influx? So.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
They don't live in my area, so I can say that.
Yeah.
Thank
So-
you. And thank you for all of your questions as well. It always
So-
gives us something to think about and talk about.
All right, thank you. Okay, next, Department of Children's Advocacy. Director Will.
Chairman Hewitt and members of the committee, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here this morning. My name is Amanda Whittle, and I'm the Director of the Department of Children's Advocacy. It is my honor to be here today with my team, some of my team, Kayla Capps, the Deputy Director, Ladera Depew, Chief of Staff, Rob Schaller. I don't know if Rob's here or not. Rob is probably wondering where the Blott Building is. And then Tom Kaminer, who is a budget director with the Department of Administration. Our agency's fairly new. We were created, we launched on July 1st, 2019. We administer some divisions that have been around for a while. Representative Hosey was asking about, hey, is Council on Aging part of the Lieutenant Governor's office or the Governor's office? 3 divisions that we have with our agency were part of the Governor's office. They were part of the Office of Executive Policy and Programs and then moved to Department of Administration. And then July 1st, 2019, they were designated to be part of the Department of Children's Advocacy. But in addition to those 3 divisions, which have existed for a long time, we were also charged with doing some very broad work to try to improve services offered by state agencies in South Carolina, to really, I think, be a one-stop shop for folks who had a complaint, who needed navigation. It's taken some time to build capacity for that, and that's what our budget request is about today. You can see here that our department is responsible for supporting 200 staff, but also volunteers. Those volunteers are in the form of guardians ad litem or foster care review board members. We also examine system-wide the services provided to children by 9 state agencies. Those state agencies are huge. The Department of Juvenile Justice, the Department of Social Services, Department of Mental Health, the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs. What used to be the Department of Health and Environmental Control, now the Department of Public Health. The Department of Health and Human Services, which is our state's Medicaid agency. We have 600,000 children on Medicaid in South Carolina. And then 3 state agencies, which are also schools. That's the Willow Gray School, the South Carolina School for the Deaf and the Blind, and then the Governor's School for Agriculture. We're responsible for examining the services that they provide, for receiving complaints and critical incidents from them, for developing and promoting a broad vision of reform, for recommending quality improvements for children's services, for educating the public not only about our role, but about the role of these other state agencies, and for serving as a member of the State Child Fatality Advisory Committee, which is a committee that only talks about child deaths, in an effort to try to determine what we can do to prevent that list from growing every year. And then serving as an ex officio member of the Joint Citizens and Legislative Committee on Children, and maintaining the child abuse coordination protocol and facilitating meetings. Again, we've been engaged in trying to build capacity to do this overarching work, as well as to make certain that those 3 divisions have the staff that they need. I've provided you with a one-pager which provides some highlights of our accountability measures. I'm excited about the work that our agency's doing. We have a strong workforce of people who care about children and care about families and really want to help. Continuum of Care, for example, provides high-fidelity wraparound, which is a model that they use to provide intensive care coordination to youth with challenging emotional and behavioral problems. I am certain every one of you get calls from families who say, I have a youth who really needs help and I don't know what to do. Continuum of Care is free, and it's a service that's provided by our state agency to help maintain children in homeschools and communities. The Cass Elias McCarter Guardian Ad Litem program provides a best interest guardian ad litem for all children in DSS abuse or neglect cases in 45 counties, not Richland, because Richland has a county-based system. The Foster Care Review Division is staff at our office who support the boards to review the cases of children who are in foster care to make certain that children don't languish in foster care. We don't want children to stay there longer than they need to, and we want to make certain that while they're there, they're in an appropriate placement and they're getting the services that they need. This overarching work that we were charged with back in 2019, we've used that overarching work to help define our System Improvement Division, a relatively new division that includes a complaints unit, an investigations unit, and a critical investigations unit. I want to thank you for the support that you've given our agency in helping to build capacity and providing state funding for us and FTEs to help do this work, but we need more. And so that's what we're asking for today. We're asking for $3,251,706 in recurring funding, $416,000 in non-recurring funding. All of these requests are directly aligned to goals in our annual accountability report, goals and objectives that are all measurable, targets that are in place, all designed to help improve outcomes for children in our state. The first priority is this System Improvement Division. We received 2,894 critical incident notifications in FY24. You can see that chart that this number is exponentially growing. In our first year, we received 30 for the whole year. Deputy Capps and I thought, we can do this. We don't even need staff. We'll just do it ourselves. 77 probably could do that. By 417, we needed to hire people. You may recall around this time, we're in the middle of a continuing resolution. So what we did was we looked at our vacancies, we reclassified vacancies, we tried to create staff out of existing positions without asking the General Assembly. But we're at a point now where all those positions are filled or being filled. Our vacancy rate's very low. Our turnover rate is very low. Out of the 2,894 critical incident notifications, we did conduct 1,161 investigations just by that unit. Y'all, I want you to know that we're asking for 5 investigators, 3 attorneys, and a supervisor. But I want to talk to you just about the impact. This is a picture. It looks so pretty, right? The one on the left there is the Juvenile Detention Center. Deputy Capps and I had been there late into the evening on a Friday night. And you know, what you experience at the Juvenile Detention Center is not pretty. But when we came outside and I saw that picture, I thought, wow, what a beautiful picture. And I took that picture and I put that up there to share with you that what this System Improvement Division is doing is going to these facilities, meeting youth who can't come to our office, who can't maybe call us on the telephone, who can't go to a community mental health center and get the help that they need. We're going behind razor wire fences. That's what that second picture is. We're going to these evaluation centers, which are scattered throughout our state, to meet with youth where they are, to hear their complaints and concerns, to work with staff, to try to make certain that these children are getting the services that they need. So I want you to know that I don't ask lightly for 10 FTEs for this division. Those of you who know me know I don't like to ask for money. I like to come and tell you we got this. But we do need these folks in order to continue to fulfill our statutory mission and to help ensure that children receive adequate services from child-serving agencies. Our second priority is also statutorily based. We are required by law to provide a guardian ad litem for every child who's involved in a DSS abuse or neglect action, and we do that through the guardian ad litem program. You'll see here that in FY24, we provided services for 11,577 children with an average of 8,468 children per year. Now, we have volunteers, and we have about 999 volunteers. And 56% of our children were appointed a volunteer guardian ad litem, but I'm not great with math, but 999 volunteers serving 56% of the children means that they're serving far fewer children than our staff. When a guardian ad litem, a volunteer guardian ad litem, can't accept a case, says, I can't take any more cases, I already have 2 children on my caseload, we're required by state law to appoint a guardian for them. So what we do is we appoint our staff. Our staff are trained, just like a volunteer guardian ad litem would be trained, but 44% of children were appointed a trained staff person as their guardian ad litem. The difference between a volunteer guardian ad litem and a staff guardian ad litem is our staff wasn't hired to be a guardian ad litem. They were hired to supervise volunteers, to help train volunteers, to be a liaison between our agency and other agencies. So these staff are doing their job, plus they're being guardians ad litem, and they have a much higher caseload. We have guardians staff who have caseloads as high as 30 children. So you can imagine what it's like to try to do your job, your regular job, the one you were hired for, in addition to seeing 30 children every month, going to court, going to school, going to an IEP maybe, and providing a court with recommendations for that child so that the court can help make a good decision for that child. So we are asking for 21 FTEs for the guardian ad litem program. You'll see here that we're asking for 14. Last year we requested 21 and we got 8. So part of this is just we're asking for those same positions we asked for last year, but we are asking for 14. 9 would be program coordinator 1 positions, 4 would be program assistants 1, a program coordinator 2 position. This is a picture of a judge with one of our guardians ad litem. Additional guardian ad litem staff are needed to ensure children have quality, best interest representation, and to ensure timely and thorough reports are submitted for the court's consideration regarding children's placement and services. You know, in the courtroom in a DSS case, DSS has a lawyer. Oftentimes the parents have lawyers. And then the child is there without a lawyer. That child, best interest representation is that guardian ad litem. I believe that courts rely on that third party, that neutral person, to provide a non-biased investigation and recommendations to the court, and we need staff to be able to bring those caseloads down so that they can do a good job and make certain that they're able to see these children and hear these children so that the children's needs can be heard by the court. Our third request is fairly straightforward. For probably 2 decades, the Department of Mental Health has been transferring $400,000 to the continuum of care through a proviso. If you don't change it, then you can just ignore this request. But if you do change it and you issue something that says that DMH doesn't have to transfer money to us, we would ask that you allocate it directly to us. We are relying on that $400,000 every year in order to operate continuum of care, a plug for continuum of care. If you know anybody who could benefit from continuum of care services, would love for you to make a referral. The South Carolina Continuum of Care, again, provides intensive care coordination to help maintain children in their homes, schools, and communities and out of state custody. We want to keep children out of DJJ, keep them out of emergency rooms, keep them out of foster care when safely possible. And then our IT requests are here. $115,700 for IT operations, including Microsoft Office. I do want to let you know that we've asked for this before. We're paying it. We're paying these costs as we're not getting the funding for it. And these are real costs. This is a significant amount of money. $85,000 for Microsoft Office. We love it. We need it. But it's real. It costs money. They send us a bill for $85,000 and we have to pay it. We've had to do that twice. We're going to have to do that again. So we need funding for that. And then $77,000 for the Cisco switch end-of-life replacements, non-recurring. I am a lawyer. So I said, what in the world is a Cisco end-of-life? What is a switch? What is this? And what's been explained to me by IT folks is it's something that if it doesn't work, we're not going to have network capacity, or our network's going to be slow. It's going to be annoying when you're in the middle of a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting and you can't hear people, you can't see people, your screen freezes, or you're sitting in your office trying to do your work and you don't have internet. So these are the kinds of real things that happen when we don't have that funding. I do want to let you know this is a picture of our Guardian Ad Litem staff. They go all over the state trying to raise awareness about the great work that the Guardian Ad Litem program does and to try to get volunteers. But I want you to know that the Department of Children's Advocacy simply does not have the fiscal surplus to absorb these costs without additional state allocations. And if unfunded, these costs will come from program operations. I asked Tom right before we started, I said, is there anything that you want to tell me before we get started? Is there anything you want to let me know or remind me? He said, we're going to run out of money. So we're using some of our carry forward money each year to try to supplement these costs when we don't get state funding. We will run out of that. We will run out of that money. So we are asking for recurring and non-recurring for that. And then these are priority 6, $121,000 for Guardian Ad Litem program operational expenses. Our staff is in leased spaces throughout the state. Our state office is here on the state grounds, but throughout the state, we're renting space. We've had different things happen where a landlord says, hey, we're selling the building, you got to move. And some situations, the rent's going up. Some situations, our staff have increased, and so the place that we're in, it's not big enough. We need a different place. Some places we've had mold. We've gone through remediation, and the mold is still there. We can't have our staff working in a place that's not safe. So we are asking for additional recurring allocations for leases, for moving and IT expenses, and then for increased costs for legal representation for volunteer guardians ad litem. By state law, a guardian ad litem is required to have a lawyer appointed for them to represent them in that case. It costs money to hire FTEs, so that what we've done for years is contract with lawyers throughout the state to represent our guardians. But we have needed to increase those contracts to be able to pay some of our lawyers more money to be able to represent guardians, and so we're asking for additional funding to keep up with that. We are working with DSS to be able to renegotiate a contract so that we can avoid some of these extra costs, but in the meantime, we do know that we need additional funding to support increased payment for those contract attorneys. Number 7 is recruiting and retaining advocates, as well as number 8. These are broken down into non-recurring and recurring. As you can see here, we base those off of performance. Our staff salaries are lower than state average in most cases, and our staff are hot stuff folks. They're working hard. They're getting in their car and they're driving to meet children. They're going to schools. They're going to court. They're going to detention centers. And we have to pay for quality employees like that. Many of our employees have master's degrees. We have folks who have PhDs. We want to remain competitive. I believe that our agency does some of the toughest work in state government. And we have to be competitive with that to make certain that we continue to have quality staff. And here are some of our staff. If you've never met somebody with the Department of Children's Advocacy, I hope you will, but I did want to show you these faces. Competitive performance-based salary increases and appropriate work environments are aimed at preventing high turnover rates, reducing costs associated with hiring and onboarding staff, and incentivizing staff to continue their hard work and to continue to be employed with the Department of Children's Advocacy. Priority 9 is related to non-recurring funds as well, and these are the costs that are associated with being able to, if we get the new FTEs, we got to give them a laptop. We got to make certain they have a desk. We buy our desks and chairs from surplus. They're not going to cost a lot of money. And we have contracts, with the Department of Administration looking for the best price. But it does cost money to have equipment for new staff, and we want to make certain that they have stuff that works so that they can do what they need to do in an efficient manner. I put this picture up there so that you could see how excited we were to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Foster Care Review Board. The Foster Care Review Board has been around for 50 years. That's Lindsay Taylor in the middle. She's the director of the Foster Care Review Division. And to her right, and looking at it to in between Lindsay and me, is the chair of the Foster Care Review Board, Andrea McCoy. But I also want to say the way that we work has changed in the last 50 years. And a great deal of this budget request is related to that. Our agency is a very public-facing agency. We are meeting with people face-to-face, but we're also using technology. We're using cell phones, we're using computers, we're using Teams, we're using Outlook. We need all that. We need reliable equipment to perform our job duties, and these tools definitely benefit children, families, and other agencies because they improve our ability to coordinate and communicate with other agencies. This is a summary of our FY26 budget request. I also want to let you know that Sarah Knox with the Children's Trust of South Carolina is here, as well as Tom Knapp with the South Carolina Network of Children's Advocacy. I want to share with y'all that we are not CAC. We are not the Child Advocacy Center. That's so confusing sometimes. We are a state agency, the Department of Children's Advocacy. But there's another group, the South Carolina Network of Children's Advocacy Centers, where children go to be interviewed about abuse or neglect. They go to a CAC. You probably have one in your area. And so Tom Knapp and Sarah Knox are here. Over the years, we've had pass-through funding come through our agency. I know they communicate with all of you and provide you with information. I wanted to let you know that we know that that's usually included as a pass-through, not an earmark, but a pass-through, and that we know how to work with them and appreciate the opportunity to work with them and have no concerns with those pass-through dollars. It's a lot of talking awfully fast, but that's my presentation.
So, thank you. It was a great presentation.
Thank you.
And, certainly when you're dealing with children, that's a very special, thing. Anybody have any questions?
It's a statement, maybe a question, but I'm glad she cleared it up about the Children's Advocacy and the agency. That's very critical. Did you tell the chairman and the committee where you're from?
Let me tell you where I'm from.
Okay.
I'm from Aiken, South Carolina. I was born at the Aiken Hospital. I still live there. I drive back and forth every day. I love living in Aiken and being Representative Clyburn's neighbor.
Oh, you get it, John. You got the answer. You hear that? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We're feel for you. So, anyway, anyone else have any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your
very much.
time.
Thank you.
So, okay. That concludes all of our people for today. Just so everyone knows, I know that we're in perfunctory session next week. We are still scheduled to meet next Wednesday at 10 a.m. We have 4 agencies that'll be before us. We've reached out to some more to see if they would like to come, but so far I've not had any success with that. But unless there's any other business, we stand adjourned until next Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Thank y'all.
I knew you got to go.
Speaking to law school.
Look at it. Hey, listen, you gonna tell me good stuff?
Always.
I think you there's some things you don't give a damn about.
Exactly.
But that was so funny.
Appreciate it.